Just responded out to the scene and interviewed those witnesses. Evidence was collected. Those efforts went throughout the night. Some detectives stayed and haven't gone home yet. Some went home and got some sleep and came back. We've gotten some search warrants. We've done neighborhood canvass. We've collected some video evidence. We have found some potential areas where some of the rounds may have gone. We believe there's approximately 10 or 11 rounds that were fired based on the evidence at the scene. Right now, our number one priority is apprehending this suspect. Unfortunately, the victim did succumb to their injuries overnight, so this now is a homicide investigation. It appears that this was two people that just crossed paths, and for whatever reason, the pedestrian decided to open fire. It appears that the suspect was crossing in a crosswalk, crossing Edmonds Way. The driver was making a left-hand turn. For reasons unknown, those two intersected, and the pedestrian opened fire and then fled the scene. We have no current information about any previous relationship. This was just a person making a left turn and somebody crossing the crosswalk, and unfortunately here we are today. So our number one priority is locating the suspect, bringing them to justice. This is incredibly difficult for the family of the victim that is having to go through this. So now we have to do our part, and we need the community's help because we know somebody out there knows something. So I'll open up to questions. We can go from there.
Are you looking for any vehicles in connection? Like, is it possible that the shooter may have gotten into a vehicle? Any information like that come in?
Yeah, it's a good question. As people were piecing things together upon first arriving, that was some of the information we had. We are not certain that they didn't get into a vehicle, but the witnesses' accounts when officers and detectives were investigating was that this person was just crossing the street. They didn't see them come from a vehicle. That doesn't mean someone wasn't in the area to pick them up, unrelated. We don't know that, but it appears that it was just a pedestrian crossing the street when this happened. So.
The video evidence, is that from like a traffic camera or a neighbor surveillance camera? Can you describe again what's on there?
Well, the first part of it, yes, they're collecting video from wherever they can get it. The second part comes with trying to analyze it and see what's on it. That's the little bit more painstaking part, and we've collected some evidence today. They're going through it. I had hoped to have something to be able to release to you to help with the community. That was why we had to wait till 2 o'clock today. Unfortunately, we just don't have anything yet, but I wanted to get we need your help, the media's help, in getting this message out. And as soon as we do have something, we will release it. But right now, we just don't have anything that we can release out to the public.
Josh, do you know if the victim at all has any Edmonds ties? You say he was from SeaTac, right?
Yes, that's what I was told. Yes.
So, family members live down there, or do any Edmonds connections to this person?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm only aware that the victim was a rideshare driver. But why they were in Edmonds, information that I don't have right now. But I'm sure the detectives are piecing that together. I know they've been in contact with the family both last night and today, trying to kind of piece how the victim might be up in this area. It could have been part of work, but it could be part of something unrelated.
You said public help. What could help right now? Obviously, if you have concrete information, but are you looking for Ring doorbell cameras or what specific?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. We've put out a very what seems like overly simplistic description, and I'll recap that before we all go here. But yes, video Ring cameras from your Ring, your surveillance systems. It's a fairly large intersection with not a lot of residences around it, but the suspect was coming from the west side of Edmonds Way, might have walked through the residential neighborhood to get down to that area. There are some apartment complexes on that side of the street that could have captured if any of those people have Ring doorbells or surveillance systems outside. We also know that this person came from somewhere and went somewhere else. And we're hoping with this coverage that somebody is like, wait, that person recognizes the description, and maybe there was a bunch of sirens right after somebody left your house that matches this description. We need somebody to come forward. It's the right thing to do, and some other family's grieving because their family member tried to make a left turn. So we need some help on this one.
Can you talk to the community, like especially around that block, with neighbors who heard it and saw it, their concerns because this guy's still out there? Is it worrying? worry for the folks in town?
Well, it's legitimate. It's legitimate to be concerned if there's an armed gunman still, whether he's still in the neighborhood or not. You feel like he's still in your neighborhood, and so I'll validate that as a family man myself and a homeowner. Like we can all appreciate, like, wait, this person hasn't been caught. I can just assure you that, like, the people that have been walking in and out, they haven't gone home yet. They're doing everything they can to try to find this person. We're out here today to try to get the community's help, but it is unsettling. And I sent out a statement. I'm not sure if you guys all got it yet, but Chief Bennett's issued a statement. Mayor Rosen has issued a statement acknowledging, like, this is unsettling. We're 4 days into the new year and we're having to deal with this in Edmonds, and this is a unique circumstance. This is not people that knew each other or had history that we can tell. They just crossed paths, and for whatever reason, this person decided to victimize this other individual. And so, yeah, it is unsettling for the community. We're working as hard as we can, but we need their help. So be unsettled, but be vigilant. Check your surveillance. Tell your neighbors. Tell your friends to look at their stuff.
So this guy could still be here. He could be somewhere else. You don't know exactly. You don't have any.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be a smart ass when I say this, but if we knew where he was, we would go get him, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's very possible that he lives in the neighborhood that he was walking from, right? And if you're listening, please come turn yourself in. You have a side of the story. You were crossing the street. Whatever happened. We don't change that, but now it's time to at least come tell your side of the story, and we'll figure everything out from there. But otherwise, it looks like you're running from something, and we need to talk to you. So.
Can you explain that more? Because that area is a lot of like apartments, and then there's like one little business. I don't live here, so I don't know.
Sure.
I didn't see anything that would, for me, make it seem like someone that was maybe transient would be walking around at 10 o'clock at night. Is that an area where people are walking around more so?
If you walk 3 minutes in kind of either direction, you're in a residential neighborhood.
Okay.
I know that's a state route right there, and if you walk 10 minutes, you're back up to Highway 99, and so it seems like it's kind of a weird. But there's a lot of people that live in that area. Condensed housing, apartments. If you walk a little bit more to the west, there's actually fairly established residential neighborhoods. People could have just been out for a walk. They could have gone to their friends and been walking back home. We can acknowledge all those things exist. So we kind of know somebody knows something, because this happened too randomly for somebody not to realize. I heard a bunch of sirens right after somebody left my house or the other area.
Josh, was there any extra security up at Madrona K8? That school up there?
Oh, sorry. So we were in good communication with the school district. We didn't have extra security up there today, but what we did have was patrol officers and detectives up there canvassing the neighborhood, looking for additional evidence. So kind of unintentionally, we had an extra presence up there by all the officers and detectives that were working the area.
And what made you think that this was random? And was it from some video that you have already seen, or could the guy have flipped the driver off, or what makes you think that it was like totally random?
Well, we have witnesses that watched this occur, right? So they were at the intersection, driving themselves or in the area, and at some point, yes, the two intersected. The person making the victim making the left-hand turn, and then the person crossing the street. What happened in those like millisecond moments we're still trying to figure that out. But whatever happened didn't deserve the outcome that it got, which was this person being brutally murdered.
Those 10 or 11 rounds, were they all the same type of round? There's a lot of shots fired.
I'm assuming only, which is not good for the PIO to do, so let's pretend I didn't say that, that it all came from the same weapon. There was no indication. There was multiple reports of successive pops. No indication that there was two weapons involved, but the detectives are going to analyze each and every round and the casings that were recovered, and we'll be able to verify that later.
Was the guy working, you said? He's a rideshare driver. Was he working? Is that...
We don't know if he was on duty at the time. We just know that he was a rideshare. Both been talking to the family and some items that were left in the vehicle, but we don't know what at that moment in time what he was doing.
Got it. Can I ask you a question? I think the last time we did something like this was in May of last year. I mean, homicides in Edmonds is not the norm.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about it. We had, I wrote it down just to make sure I got it right. Last year we had one homicide in Edmonds. In 2022 we had two. One of those was an officer-involved shooting. that was investigated by the SMART team, and the year before we had none. So the goal is to have zero, right? We don't want to have any. We don't want to say, oh, our numbers are low, so everything's fine. Nobody should lose their life, in a homicidal act. So I don't really want to focus on how many we've had or haven't had. We need to find this suspect, and we need to bring this person in one way or another, and we'd really like the community's help.
So my question for you is, when you talk to anyone in this town, it's always, you don't expect it in Edmonds, so what does it feel like to come out day 4 into 2024 and have to deal with this?
Yeah, I'm a 25-year veteran, so the years and the days, like, they're just how we kind of mark things on a calendar. Police work is one of those things where the calendar doesn't really matter. Stuff happens, human beings happen, and here we are. So you've got a professional organization here that's working tirelessly to go do everything they can to bring this person to justice. That's what our focus is right now. We can't control that it already happened. We can only control how we address the situation now, and we're doing our best to help this family get some healing. Anything else? I think all of your news desks got a copy of the statement if you didn't get it already. So.
When you were talking about witnesses, have you had, if you can kind of quantify that, has it been, did you have quite a few, or?
Yeah, 3 to 5. When I got to the scene, they were kind of spread all over talking to detectives. So if my count's right, we had 3 to 5 individual witnesses. And there was a little bit of language barrier with some of them, so the detectives did a great job of getting resources that they could interview the people in their native language. That made it easier for those interviews to take place. So we were able to get better information because of the dedication of the detectives and frankly, the willingness of the witnesses to stay there and help provide information. It was cold, it was rainy. We had some support that came out and helped keep these people warm. But we do appreciate their efforts there.
Was that Support 7 that came out? Did they come
Yes.
out?
Yes. Anything else?
Thank you.
Yeah.